Hello everyone, I hope all of you are doing good and I am here with a video series on class 7 maths integers. So we are going to start our preparation for class 7 maths and this is going to be our first lesson. So we will cover all the topics of integers in 4 videos and that is why I would request you to watch all these 4 videos of this video series. So this is going to be our first video and few things that we are going to cover in this entire video series are: what are integers? How do we represent them on number line? Properties of integers like addition, subtraction, multiplication, the properties that we use there, and a lot of questions. So we will cover the conceptual part of this entire lesson and we will also solve a lot of questions which will give you a very good clarity on the entire lesson. So if you watch the entire video series, trust me, you will be able to solve all the questions which are there in your textbook. So let's get started. Now, so far we have learned about different types of numbers. So in your junior classes, you have learned about natural numbers, whole numbers. So let us have a very quick recap because this lesson is going to be all about numbers again. But this is going to be a new type of number. So what are natural numbers? Those numbers which come very naturally to us. So when we ask a kid to start numbering, how does he start? How does he or she start? They start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. So basically these numbers starting from 1 and ending till infinity. That means there is no end to it. There is no specific last number that we can define. So all these numbers are natural numbers. So the number of fingers in your hand is 5, which is a natural number. Now, if I ask you how many hands do you have, that's again 2, which is a natural number. If I ask you how many pages are there in your book, maybe 500 or 600. So when you look at all such examples around you, you'll see numbers. Whether you talk about how many chocolates you have, how many books are there inside your bag, how many fingers is there in each of your hands, or how many hairs do you have on your head. So you look at any of these and you see that you have countable numbers and they are all examples of natural numbers. Now, what we had learnt before was that we found that 1 is the smallest natural number. So out of curiosity, you might ask what exists below 1? What is there before 1? Well, look at this example. So what do you see? This kid has 5 chocolates. So very distinctly we can see that he has 5 chocolates. You take away 1. How much is left? 4. You again take away 1. How much is left? 3. So basically as you keep reducing 1, you see that first it was 5, then it was 4, then it was 3, then 2, then 1. But what next? Now once you remove this one chocolate or once you take away this one chocolate from the kid, how many chocolates will be left with the kid? Exactly, there will be no chocolates with him. So the number of chocolates that is with this kid right now is 0. So 0 exists below 1. But when we discuss natural numbers, we never bothered to include 0. Natural numbers starts from 1. So how do we include 0 in some type of number? So that is when we introduced whole numbers. Now the term whole itself means complete. So these whole numbers are nothing but the natural numbers along with 0. So these are basically numbers starting from 0. That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 till infinity. So all natural numbers plus 0 makes whole numbers. Now you would have seen your timer or the stopwatch. So from where does the countdown begins? It starts from 0. So from 0 it jumps to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. Similarly, if you have say a bundle of notes, let's say you have some 400 rupees, right? So when you have something like one bundle of note, when you had this much, this might be some 40 rupees. Now if you increase the number of notes, this might become 400 rupees. So you see, just the presence of zeros, it actually brings a huge difference. Now, would you agree with me that there is a huge difference between 40 and 400, right? Similarly, there is a huge difference between 400 and 4,000 or 40,000. But the difference as such is nothing but in the number of zeros. But as the number of zeros after a number increases, the overall value of the number increases. So 0 is a very significant number. You think of this, where you have a lot of students sitting inside a classroom. Now, do you see that there is a difference between one student sitting in the class and 10 students sitting in the class? So 1 and 10, how are they different? They are different just because 10 carries a 0 with it. So 0 when put after a number becomes very, very significant, and it increases the overall value of the number. Now, the next curious question would be, what exists below 0? Because we saw that below 1 exists 0. So there must be something which exists below 0 as well. So what is that which exists below 0? So again, let us take the same example which we took before. So what do we see? The same kid has 5 chocolates. Now let's assume that the kid is eating up one chocolate after another. So when he ate one chocolate, he's left with 4. He ate another chocolate, he's left with 3. Yet another chocolate is being eaten and he's left with 2. Finally, he's left with 1. Now, the moment he eats up this chocolate as well, he is left with 0 number of chocolates. Right? Now, he doesn't have any chocolate. So, you might think that now he doesn't have any chocolate. So, from where will he eat any further chocolate? Now, let us say that there is another boy. Maybe this is his elder brother, the kid's elder brother. And his elder brother has good stock of chocolates. So he generally has a lot of chocolates with him. Now this little kid, he asks his brother that, brother, I want to eat a chocolate, but I do not have one. So will you please borrow me a chocolate? So you give me a chocolate, maybe 1 or 2 chocolates, and I will eat them for now, but I'll return them to you later. And that's how he convinces his brother, saying that he will return the chocolate that he takes from him, and he takes 1 chocolate from his brother. So basically this chocolate is being given by the elder brother to the kid. So now if I ask you how many chocolates the kid has, the kid doesn't have 1 chocolate, because the kid for himself, it is not his original stock of chocolates. He has already finished his original stock. So this is something which he has taken from someone else and which he has to return. Right? So basically right now the kid has -1 chocolate. So he has a negative balance. Now, if he borrows 1 more chocolate from his brother, that means now he has -2 chocolates, because he has 2 chocolates. But why this negative sign? Because these 2 chocolates are not his own. It is being taken from someone whom he needs to return. So basically these 2 chocolates doesn't really belong to the kid. It belongs to somebody else from whom he has borrowed. So what did we observe? We saw that below 0 exist the negative numbers. So the negative numbers again start from -1 and it goes like this: -2, -3, -4, and again this also goes till infinity, because on the negative numbers also they extend indefinitely. So what do we conclude? We conclude that we have a set of natural numbers which are all positive. We have a 0, and we have a set of negative numbers which all of which have a negative sign with it. So now the question is, I am not really convinced with the fact that these negative numbers exist below 0. Okay, you gave this example of chocolate, but somehow if I am not able to relate it to real life. Okay, so let us take this example which is more easily related to our day-to-day life. Think of a summer day, a very hot sunny day in summer. Now, if you have ever come across the temperature column of the newspaper, now whenever you receive your newspaper every day, on the top right you would see that there is a small section where it tells you the temperature of that day, the maximum temperature, minimum temperature. So basically, it gives you information about the weather of that particular day. Now, on a hot summer day, how is the temperature? So the temperature can go as high as 50 degrees Celsius. Now, especially in cities like Delhi, sometimes the temperature actually goes even beyond 50 degrees Celsius. So this is the temperature during a hot sunny day in summer. Now, for the same place, if you look at the temperature in a winter night, when it is like very cold, freezing, snowfall everywhere, so at that condition, what do you think is the temperature? So now normally the temperature is minus 10 degrees Celsius, minus 7 degrees Celsius. So the temperature is in negative. Now, have you observed this? Have you ever observed that for places which are located in the hilly areas, like in India, you have Jammu and Kashmir, you have Nainital. So these are like the hill stations, Shimla. And normally during winters, these regions get heavy snowfall, because of which their temperatures fall below 0 degrees Celsius. That is, their temperatures are negative temperatures. So here you see you encounter negative numbers. And what do you observe? That when the temperatures become very, very low, then the temperature is denoted by negative numbers. And when the temperature is quite high, then it is denoted by positive numbers. So these examples prove that yes, negative numbers do exist, and negative numbers exist below 0. Right? So this is one very common example. So now the question is, what are integers? Because we have come to this lesson to learn about integers. So what are they? So integers are nothing but collection of positive and negative numbers along with 0. So basically, when you talk about integers, you have all the whole numbers, that is 0 plus natural numbers, plus you have the negative numbers as well. Now here on the number line, you can very distinctly see all the integers. So you see you have 0, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the right hand side. So all the positive numbers towards the right side and the negative numbers towards the left side. So that is how the number line is arranged. So now that we have a mix of positive and negative numbers when it comes to integers, so if I ask you which of these two numbers are bigger, which is bigger and which is smaller, 10 or 18? Now it's quite simple for you to answer, right? You would say definitely 18 is bigger. That's because 10 comes first, like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 18 comes later. So when we add 8 to 10, only then we get 18, which proves that 18 is bigger than 10. Now if I ask you which is bigger out of minus 35 and 31. Now forget about the negative sign. If I ask you which is bigger, 35 or 31, you would definitely say 35, because 35 is bigger than 31. But when it comes to minus 35 and 31, can you tell which is bigger? Yes, 31 is bigger than minus 35. Now you might be thinking, but 35 is bigger than 31. Then why is it that minus 35 is lesser than 31? Similarly, if I ask you which is bigger, 103 or minus 108. Now the challenge here is, whenever the negative and positive numbers both are into the scene, it sometimes becomes very difficult to understand which number is bigger and which number is smaller. So for this, we will understand the entire concept using the number line, because this helps us to visualize where the numbers are located. So now on this number line, what do we see? We have 0 here, and towards the right hand side, we have all the positive numbers, and towards the left hand side we have all the negative numbers. Now, one interesting thing that we observe is that as we move towards the right, we are moving towards larger numbers. So you see, 1 is bigger than 0, 2 is bigger than 1. Again, if you compare 6, it is bigger than the numbers on the left hand side. So the moment you are moving towards the right hand side, that is this direction, this is right hand side, you are going towards larger numbers. Whereas when you move towards the left hand side, that is you are moving in this direction, you are basically going towards smaller numbers. Now this right and left concept holds true for the entire number line, whether you are talking about the positive side or the negative side. So that this rule holds true for the whole entire number line. That means any number which is located towards right of another number is going to be a bigger number. So let us look at some examples. So if I compare this number 5 with 1, which is bigger? 5, because 5 is located towards the right of 1, right? Now let us compare the same number 5 with 9, which is bigger? In this case, 9 is bigger because 9 is located towards the right side of 5. Now if I compare 1 with -5, which is bigger? Even though 5 is bigger than 1, but -5 is less than 1 because 1 is located on the right side of -5, right? So with this, what we understand is any number which is located towards the right is a bigger number, is a larger number. Correct? And the tip that we will use is, now in this case, as you see that the value of the number increases as you move towards the left, right? So therefore, whenever you are comparing a negative number with a positive number, so how will you compare? Let's look at these examples, -35 and let's say 21. So out of these two, which is bigger? Now it is not possible to draw the number line and see which is located towards the right and which is located towards the left. But whenever you have a comparison between a negative number and a positive number, the positive number will always be greater. Why? This reason being simple, that positive numbers are located towards the right of the negative numbers, because you see all the negative numbers are located on the left hand side of 0 and all the positive numbers are located on the right hand side. So any positive number is definitely going to be greater than any negative number. So forget about the dimension, any positive number will be greater than any negative number. So that is one thing that we learn from here. Now let us say if we have a scenario where both the numbers which are given in the question are negative, let's say -35 and -101. Now which one is bigger? Now in this case, if you forget about the negative sign, which is bigger, 35 or 101? 101, right? Why is 101 bigger? Because when you look at the number line, 101 will be located on the right of 35. 35 will come before and 101 will come later. So 101 is located towards the right of 35. So 101 is bigger than 35. But when you consider the negative numbers, so -35 will come first. So you might, if this is your number line, let's say if you have -35 somewhere here, then -101 will come somewhere here. So basically you see that -35 is located towards the right of -101. Therefore -35 is bigger. So the simple tip that we need to remember is, if you need to compare two negative numbers, which one is bigger and which one is smaller, the number which is a smaller number will be overall a bigger number. For example, in this case, both the numbers were negative, right? So in this case, what you do, just compare the value of the number. So one number is 35, the other number is 101. Which is smaller? 35. Therefore, -35 would be bigger, because on the number line, you see that the smaller value numbers come before. That is, the smaller value numbers are located on the right hand side of the bigger value numbers. That is, minus 101 will be located towards the left of minus 35. So let us look at one more example. Let's say you have minus 16 and minus 61. Which is bigger? Both of them are negative. So let us forget about the sign. Let us just consider the value. Which is a smaller value, 16 or 61? 16 is a smaller value. Therefore, overall, minus 16 will be greater than minus 61. So see, this is a very simple concept. Now, why I explained you with the help of number line is so that you understand why this is why we do it like this. Now, as a tip, just remember, any positive number will always be greater than any negative number. That is one thing. Second thing is, if you have both the numbers negative, forget about their sign. Compare the values. This number which is smaller in value will overall be a bigger number. So now let us look at the same examples. 10 and 18, which is bigger? Of course, 18 is greater than 10. Minus 35 and 31. So here you have a positive number and a negative number. And as I have told, a positive number is always greater than a negative number. So in this again you have a positive number and a negative number. Again, as mentioned, positive number will be greater than the negative number. So you see, with these simple tips, so you need to remember these simple tips so that you can very quickly answer which integer is bigger and which integer is smaller. So now, as I mentioned, comparing two negative numbers. Though I have explained it, but I would spend one more slide on this so that you do not have any confusion left with you. So let us take this real life example. So let us say that on a cold day, we find that the temperature of this hilly station is 10 degrees Celsius. So it is not like snowfall everywhere, but yeah, it is kind of cold. It is not a very hot day. So the temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. Now the same place, after a couple of days, when snowfall starts and it is like kind of covered with snow all over, the temperature falls to as small as minus 31 degrees Celsius. So what has happened? So 10 degree to minus 31 degree. So what has happened? So 10 degree was more. Minus 31 degree is a lot less than 10 degrees. So basically 10 degrees greater than minus 31. Now if the temperature drops further, let's say that if there is even more snowfall, so where will the temperature go? The temperature might even drop to minus 35 degree. So you see, as the temperature is dropping, basically your value is increasing, because minus 31 is more than minus 35. Minus 35 is more than minus 50, because your value is increasing, but it is carrying a negative sign. That means the environment is becoming colder and colder. So this shows that minus 31 is greater than minus 35. And the same thing can be proved with the number line as well. When you look at the number line, so let us say that if this is our number line, and let's say that minus 31 is somewhere here. So where will be minus 32? Somewhere here. Minus 33, minus 34, and then minus 35. So basically, if you look at their positions, we see that minus 31 is located towards the right of minus 35. And we know that as you move towards the right, you move towards bigger numbers. So that means also you prove that minus 31 is bigger than minus 35. So whenever you have to compare two negative numbers, forget about their sign. Look at that value of the number which is smaller. Overall, that number would be a bigger number. Now that we have discussed about what are integers and how do we decide which is a bigger integer, which is a smaller integer, etc. Now it's time that we discuss about operations on integers. Now what are the operations that we will discuss? The common operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So how do we add or subtract or multiply or divide integers? Now, in order to do these operations, we will follow some very simple rules. Now, there are certain rules to be followed in order to perform operations on integers, especially when we talk about addition of integers or subtraction of integers. So, for those, we will follow these simple rules. Now, when you look at the number line, you want to add a number. If you want to add a positive number to an integer, you need to move towards the right. If you want to add a negative number to the integer, you need to move towards the left. Similarly, just the opposite in case of subtraction. You want to subtract a positive number from an integer, you move towards left. If you want to subtract a negative number, you move towards right. Now you might be thinking, this sounds so confusing and I am definitely not going to remember any of these rules. So that is why we have a very simple, very logical memory tip for you. So let us quickly understand the memory tip. Now whenever you add positive things to your life, so adding positive things to your life, what do you think? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Adding positive things to your life, as adding positive habits to your life, it is definitely the right thing to do. So this is right. So whenever you add positive thing to your life, that is perfect, that is correct, that is right. So similarly, when you add a positive integer to a positive number to an integer, you move towards the right. So add positive integer, move towards right. Similarly, if you are subtracting negative things from your life, you are removing the negative habits from your life. Is that the right thing to do? Yes, of course, that is also the right thing. So what do we want? We want the positive things to be present in our life. So we add positive things to our life and we want to get rid of the negative things. So we remove the negative things from our life. So adding positive things to our life is the right thing to do. Removing negative things from our life is again the right thing to do. So whenever you add a positive number to an integer, you move towards the right. Whenever you subtract a negative integer, you move towards the right. And in rest of the cases, that is when you add negative things to your life, is that the right thing to do? That is not the right thing to do. So therefore, you do not move to the right, you move to the left. Similarly, when you subtract positive things from your life, again, is that the right thing to do? No. So in this case also, you move towards the left. So with this logic, it will be very easy for you to remember when you have to move right and when you need to move left. Now you must be wondering that, okay, with this right and left, how am I going to add integers? Now let me give you a very simple and small example here, just to illustrate how these rules apply. Let's say that you have an integer, say -2. So -2 is your given integer and you are trying to add a positive number to it. So basically, if you want to add a number, say 3 to -2. So what are you doing? You are adding a positive number to the integer. Right? So when you add positive number to an integer, you move towards right. So from -2, you will move 3 steps towards right. That is 1, 2, 3. So you have moved 3 steps. Where have you reached? You have reached at 1. So basically -2 plus 3 is equal to 1. Perfect? Okay, now let us say that you have some other integer. Let's talk about, say, 5. So you have an integer 5. Now, if I say that we are trying to add -3 to 5. So basically, we are trying to add a negative number to an integer. So when you add a negative number, you move towards left. So from 5, you will start moving towards left. How many steps? 3 steps. So 1, 2 and 3. So where have you reached? You have reached 2. So this proves that 5 plus -3 is equal to 2. So in this way, we will be able to perform addition or subtraction on integers. So let us quickly look at addition of integers. Let's say we are adding a positive integer to another positive integer. Now you might be thinking that okay, right now we are drawing number line and doing these, but what if we have to add bigger integers like 1005 plus 216? How will we add them? We cannot draw number lines for such big numbers. Of course we can't. But why are we drawing number lines right now is to make you understand the concept behind addition of integers. Right? So let us take some simple examples to understand addition of positive integer with positive integer. So let us take an example. So let us say one positive integer is 4 and another positive integer is also 4. So what would be 4 plus 4? So where is 4? This is where 4 is located. Now we say that we add 4 to this integer 4. So that means from 4 we will move 4 steps. Where will we move? Towards right or left? So here we are adding a positive integer. So adding positive things to our life is the right thing. So we will move towards right. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So where have we reached? We have reached at 8. So therefore, we will say that 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. So here also do you observe something? Now whenever we add a positive number to an integer, the overall value increases. For example, earlier the value of the integer was 4. The moment we added a positive integer 4 to it, the result became 8 and 8 is bigger than 4. Now let us look at another example. So let us say what would be 2 plus 7. So 2 again is a positive integer here. So when you add a positive integer to 2, you will move towards right. So let us move 7 steps towards right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So where have we reached? We have reached at 9. So 2 plus 7 is equal to 9. So similarly, we will look at addition of a positive integer with a negative integer. So in this case, let us take the positive integer to be 4 and let us consider the negative integer to be minus 5. So in this case, we are adding minus 5 to 4. So let us first locate 4. Where do we have 4? This is 4. And from 4 we will have to move 5 steps. Now tell me whether we will move towards the right or left, because we are adding a negative integer. So adding negative things to our life, is that the right thing to do? No. So therefore we will not move towards right and we will move towards left. How many steps towards left? 5 steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So where have we reached? We have reached at minus 1. So we will say that 4 plus minus 5 is equal to minus 1. Let us take yet another example. Let's say 0 plus minus 8. So in this case, the given integer is 0. So here is 0 and from 0 we will have to move 8 steps. Here also we are adding negative integer. Therefore it will move towards the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have reached at minus 8. So this would be minus 8. Now let us take another example where we say minus 6 plus 8. So in this case what happens? The given integer is minus 6 and you add a positive number to it. So where is minus 6? This is minus 6. We add positive number. So basically we will move towards the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So where have we reached? We have reached at 2. So minus 6 plus 8 will be equal to 2. So basically with these calculations, the simple tip that you need to remember is whenever you have to add one positive integer with one negative integer, subtract the two numbers and put the sign of the bigger number. Now because as I said, now if you are dealing with bigger numbers, it is not possible to draw the number line. So what you need to do, let's say that you have 56 and say 12. So if you are given 56 plus 56 and minus 12. So if you have to add these two, so what you do, you just subtract the two numbers. What is 56 minus 12? So 56 minus 12 would be 44, and put the sign of the bigger number. So bigger number is 56, so 56 has a plus sign, so the answer will also have a plus sign. Let's say you have minus 16 plus 5. So here also you have one negative and one positive integer. So what you do, you subtract them. So you get 11, which is bigger number, 16. 16 has a minus sign, so this will have a minus sign. So whenever you come across one positive integer and one negative integer and you need to add them, what you do is you subtract them, write the difference and put the sign of the bigger number. Now let us look at addition of integers where both the integers are negative. So maybe something of this sort. So let us take an example here. Let's consider one negative number as minus 4, another negative number is as minus 5. So what would be the sum of minus 4 and minus 5? So what does this mean? This basically means that a negative integer is being added to an integer. Now let us locate minus 4. This is where minus 4 is. Now we are adding a negative number to it. So where will we move? Adding negative number, we will move towards left. So 5 jumps from left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So where have we reached? We have reached at minus 9. So the sum would be minus 9. So the simple concept that you need to remember when you add two negative numbers is you add the two numbers and put a negative sign. For example, minus 5 plus minus 4. You just added the two numbers and you have put a negative sign. Let's say you have 150 minus 150 plus minus 101. So what you need to do, just add the two numbers. So what would you get? You would get 251 and put a negative sign before it. So you really do not need to draw the number line to find whether the sum would be positive or negative. Just remember these tips and you will be very easily able to perform addition, subtraction on integers. Now in a similar way, let us quickly look at subtraction of integers. So in this case also, the first scenario that we would consider is positive integer and positive integer. So let us say you have one integer as 6 and the other integer is 3. So 6 minus 3. So you perform subtraction between two positive integers, 6 and 3. So how would this look like on the number line? So let us say this is the number line. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this side you have minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4 and so on. So where is 6? This is where you have 6 and you have to subtract a positive number from an integer. Now when you subtract a positive number, subtracting a positive thing from your life, is that the right thing to do? No, that is not the right thing. So we will move towards left. So from 6 we will make 3 jumps towards left. 1, 2, 3. So where did we reach? We reach at 3. So therefore 6 minus 3 is equal to 3. Perfect. Now let us consider the vice versa scenario. What would be 3 minus 6? Here also you have two positive integers and you perform subtraction between them. So in this case we are subtracting 6 from 3. So we will start these jumps from 3. So this is 3 and from 3 we will make 6 jumps towards the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So where have we reached? We have reached at minus 3. So what do we observe? We observe that if we are subtracting two positive integers, sometimes the result is positive, sometimes the result is negative. So how will we know what would be the result? So for that you remember this tip. To subtract two integers, two positive integers, always find their difference and then put the sign of the bigger number. Now you might think that here both the integers are positive. So how does it matter which is bigger, which is smaller? Now understand one thing. When you say 6 minus 3, this actually means 6 plus minus 3. So this is the meaning. 6 minus 3 actually means you are adding minus 3 to 6. Similarly, when you say 3 minus 6, this actually means 3 plus minus 6, because looking at the number line also, you would have seen that we are doing the same thing. So subtraction of two positive integers is basically the same thing as addition of one positive and one negative integer, and that is why we are going to follow the same tip. Find the difference, put the sign of the bigger number. So in the first case, the bigger number has a positive sign, so the result was positive. In the second case, the bigger number has a negative sign, and therefore the result is negative. Now let us look at subtraction of positive integer and negative integer, where you have one positive integer and one negative integer. So in this case, let us take a few examples. So we consider a positive integer 3 minus a negative integer minus 6. So we have to find out the difference. Let's consider another example where we say minus 6 minus a positive integer 3. This is equal to what? We again consider a third example where we say minus 3 minus 6 is equal to what? So we basically have 3 and 6. Somewhere 3 is positive, somewhere 6 is positive. So that's how we have changed their orders. Now let's say we will have to find out the difference of these sets. So how do we find the difference? Now obviously we can take help of the number line. So that is one thing. But the question is, what would be our tip in these cases? Let's say here 7, 8, 9. This side also let us draw till 7, 8, 9. So the tip that we need to remember in this case is add the additive inverse of number to be subtracted. Now this might sound complex, but it is pretty simple. Now whenever we subtract a number, subtracting a number always means adding its additive inverse. What is additive inverse? For example, if you have a number 3, additive inverse of 3 is minus 3. Additive inverse of 5 is minus 5. Additive inverse of minus 5 is 5. So basically, additive inverse of a number is the same number with opposite sign. So if the number was negative, its additive inverse will be positive. If the number was positive, its additive inverse will be negative. So basically, additive inverse means it is that number which when added to the given number gives you 0. For example, for minus 5, if you add plus 5 to it, you'll get 0. For plus 5, if you add minus 5 to it, you'll get 0. For 3, if you add minus 3 to it, you'll get 0. So additive inverse is always the same number with opposite sign. That is additive inverse. Now let us say, if we say 5 minus 1. So 5 minus 1 basically means subtracting 1 from 5 means the same thing as adding the additive inverse of 1. And what is the additive inverse of 1? Minus 1. So 5 minus 1 is the same thing as 5 plus minus 1. So this is a concept that you need to remember. Right? Now in this case, the first scenario, let us consider. Here we say 3 minus minus 6. Now subtracting minus 6 from 3 would be the same as adding the additive inverse of minus 6. What would be the additive inverse of minus 6? It would be 6. So 3 minus minus 6 would be equal to 3 plus 6, which is equal to 9. So this is the tip using which we can very quickly subtract a positive integer and a negative integer. Now if you want to verify this, let us look at the number line. So 3, where do we have 3? This is 3, and from 3 we are subtracting a negative number. So subtracting negative things from your life is the right thing to do. So we will move towards the right. So how many jumps towards right? 6 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 and 6. So we have reached at 9. So from the number line also we see that the result is 9. Let us look at the second example, minus 6 minus 3. So this can be written as minus 6 plus minus 3. Right? So subtracting 3 from minus 6 is the same as adding additive inverse of 3 to minus 6. Right? Now minus 6 plus minus 3. What we have learned in the previous slide. Whenever you add two negative integers, what you do? You find their sum, which is 9, and then put a negative sign. So that is how you add them. Now in this also you can prove or verify using the number line. So where is minus 6? So minus 6 is here, and from minus 6 you are subtracting 3. That is, you are subtracting a positive number. Subtracting a positive number means you will move towards the left. So 3 jumps towards left and you reach at minus 9. So the result is minus 9. Let us look at the third example, minus 3 minus 6. So minus 3 minus 6 is same as minus 3 plus minus 6. And this would again be equal to, again you are adding two negative integers, so find their sum, put a negative sign. So in this fashion you can look at the subtraction of integers, whether it is positive integer or it is a positive negative integer. Now what about negative integer with negative integer? Now let us say if you have an example like, so let us take examples of two negative integers in this case. Let's say minus 3 minus minus 6. So minus 3 and minus 6 are two negative integers. Now we want to subtract the two. So let's make use of the number line. So where is minus 3? This is minus 3. We are trying to subtract a negative number. So that means that's the right thing to do. So we will move towards the right. How many jumps? 6 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So where have we reached? We have reached at plus 3. So basically minus 3 minus minus 6 is nothing but plus 3. Similarly, let's take another example, minus 6 minus minus 3. So in this case, what would be the result? So where is minus 6? Minus 6 is here. So again here also what are we doing? We are subtracting negative things, so which in turn is the right thing to do. So we will move towards right, 3 jumps towards right and we reach at minus 3. Therefore the result in this case would be minus 3. Now what would be the tip in this case? So this is how we have solved it using number line. So what would be that small tip to solve these quickly? We have to add the additive inverse of number to be subtracted. So the same thing. Now mostly for subtraction what you do is you find out the additive inverse of the number which is subtracted and then you add that additive inverse. So in this case also minus 3 minus minus 6. This can be very well written as minus 3 plus additive inverse of minus 6 would be 6. So this is basically minus 3 plus 6. So when you add one negative integer and positive integer, what you do? You find their difference which is 3 and put the sign of the bigger number. So this bigger number is 6. It has a positive sign. So the result will also have a positive sign. In this case also minus 6 plus additive inverse of minus 3 would be plus 3. So in this case also the same thing, difference between the two is 3, but the bigger number here is 6. So this would have a minus sign. So now based on whatever we have studied so far on integers, addition, subtraction, finding out bigger and smaller integers, we will quickly look at some of the questions. Question number 1. A plane is flying at the height of 5,000 meters above the sea level. At a particular point, it is exactly above a submarine floating 1,200 meters below the sea level. What is the vertical distance between them? So let us first try to draw the diagram so that we understand it better. So we will first draw the sea level. Let's say that this line denotes the sea level. Now where is the plane? So the aeroplane is somewhere here. Let's say this is where you have the aeroplane. So the aeroplane is at a height of 5,000 meters. So that means this height is 5,000 meters. and at a certain point it is exactly above a submarine floating 1200 meter below the sea level. So where is the submarine? So the submarine is somewhere here. So let's say this is the submarine, and the distance of the submarine from the sea level is 1200 meters. Now what is the question? The question is to find out the vertical distance between the aeroplane and the submarine. So basically you will have to find out this total distance. So what would be this total distance? Now let us try to consider it like a number line. So if you consider it as a number line, this point which denotes the sea level would be our origin. That is, this sea level would be at 0, and then you have the aeroplane on the right hand side at a distance of 5000 meters, and on the left hand side you have the submarine at a distance of 1200, that is minus 1200, and you have to find the distance between the two. That means you'll have to find this entire distance. So how would you find this entire distance? So the entire distance between them would be nothing but 5000, that is this distance, plus this distance, that is plus 1200, right? So when you look at it, you might say that why plus 1200, why not minus 1200? Now even if you want to consider the negative sign, in that case it would be 5000 minus 1200. This in turn would mean the same thing. So it would actually mean the same thing, right? So 5000 plus 1200, which comes out to be 6200. So this is the vertical distance between the two. So it becomes more evident by looking at this picture. So when you actually want to want to find this total distance, it would be this distance plus this distance. Question number 2. In a quiz, positive marks are given for correct answers and negative marks are given for incorrect answers. If Jack scores in 5 successive rounds were 25, minus 5, minus 10, 15 and 10, what was his total at the end? Now in order to find the total at the end, let's say there were 5 rounds, then the total score at the end would be given by the sum of the scores in all the 5 rounds. So basically total would be equal to 25 plus minus 5 plus minus 10 plus 15 plus 10. So this will give you the total. So in order to simplify this addition, what we do, let us first add all the positive numbers. So if you add all the positive numbers, 25 plus 15 gives 40 plus 10 gives 50. So all these positive numbers add together to give 50, plus minus 5 plus minus 10. So let us now add the two negative integers. Now how do we add two negative integers? We just add them 15 and then put a negative sign. And now we have to add one positive integer and one negative integer. So how do we add them? We find their difference, which is 35, and then put the sign of the bigger number. So bigger number is 50. So 50 has a plus sign. So this will also have a plus sign. So therefore the total score of Jack at the end would be plus 35. Question number 3. Mohan deposits rupees 2000 in his bank account and withdraws rupees 1642 from it the next day. If withdrawal of amount from the account is represented by a negative integer, then how will you represent the amount deposited? Okay, now withdrawal, when you're taking it out from the account. So let us say that if this is the bank account, let's say this is Mohan's bank account. So if taking away money from the bank account, which is withdrawal, is denoted by a negative sign, so definitely deposit to the account will be denoted by a positive sign. So amount deposited, so deposited amount will be denoted as plus 2000. Now we have to find out the balance in Mohan's account. So the balance would be equal to amount deposited, so initially whatever he had deposited, minus the amount which he has withdrawn. So this would be equal to 2000 minus 1642. So this would be rupees 358. So this would be the balance in Mohan's account. Question number 4. In a magic square, each row, column and diagonal have the same sum. Check if the following is a magic square. Now before we talk about this magic square, I hope you understand what is the meaning of row, column and diagonal. What are the rows here? So this is row number 1, this is row number 2, this is row number 3. So these horizontal lines, they form rows, whereas this is column number 1, this is column number 2 and this is column number 3. So the vertical columns, so they are the columns. And what is a diagonal? So this is a diagonal. So this 5, 2, minus 2, minus 3, this forms a diagonal. Similarly 0, minus 2, minus 4, these are the diagonals. Right? So that's clear from this now. So now we have to find out if this is a magic square. So in order to find that, let us first try to find out the sum of all the rows. So the sum of first row, this is row 1, row 2, row 3. So we will find out the sum of row 1, row 2 and row 3. So what is the sum of row 1? This is 5 plus minus 1 plus minus 4. So 5 plus minus 1 plus minus 4. So this is equal to 0. Let us find out sum of row 2. Minus 5 plus minus 2 plus 7. So here minus 5 plus minus 2 would be minus 7 plus 7, which is equal to 0. Row 3 would be 0 plus 3 plus minus 3. This is also equal to 0. So we see that sum of all the rows is 0. Now let us try to find out the sum of the columns. So we will find out sum of column 1, column 2 and column 3. So column 1 would be 5 plus minus 5 plus 0, which is equal to 0. Column 2 would be minus 1 plus minus 2 plus 3, which is again equal to 0, and column 3 would be minus 4 plus 7 plus minus 3, which is also equal to 0. So now we come to the diagonals. So here the sum of the diagonal 1. So when you look at the sum of the first diagonal, so let us call it D1. So this is 5 plus minus 2 plus minus 3, which comes out to be 5 plus minus 5, that is equal to 0. So now we are left with the second diagonal, which is minus 4 plus minus 2 plus 0, which comes out to be minus 6. So what do we see? We observe that the sum of all the rows is 0, sum of all the columns is 0, sum of one diagonal is also 0, but the last diagonal is not 0. Therefore, this is not a magic square, because in order to be a magic square, all of these should have been 0. Both the diagonal sum should have been 0, but that is not the case. Therefore, this is not a magic square.
I hope you found the video useful. In the next video, we are going to learn about properties of addition and subtraction in integers. So stay tuned.